Hey guys, Game Engineer here. We are in the part 2 of TSDNZAUS finals in the league that I was racing in the McLaren VGT in Dragon's Trail. So this was a cool track. I love this track. Never driven this car before, and now I've come to love it. But just thank God I had Nismo86Oz, Hamish, my teammate behind me, because he walked me through the first few laps. Because I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know when DRS opened, how it worked, when you could activate it. Was there a beep like in F1? Did anything come up on the steering wheel to tell me that I could use DRS? So it was a hectic first few laps, but it is what it is, and I learned very quickly. You'll see Nismo just puts a bit too much power to the back wheels and clips the wall there, but it doesn't matter. He comes back so strong, and these cars were so quick that any off that you did have, people were making places back up. You'll see, braked really early, just because I wasn't sure what I was doing. McEwen's already jumped the pack and he's already pressuring me. Following Gypsy, Heatster and Hobbit up in front of me, as Gypsy gets a bit slippery, hence the term Slippery Gypsy, and he loses the rear end a little bit, and then that put me up with Mekkers and Hobbit. Now Mekkers goes off the track and I follow, but I managed to keep it on the track, and whereas he goes off and he loses it, you see him flying across in the background, but there was no contact. I've made sure with the replay, I've double checked everything, triple checked everything. If there is a inquiry, I'll have that covered, because there was no contact. There was at least, I'd say maybe about 30 centimeters between us, roughly, give or take. That's a ballpark figure, I have no fucking clue. But anyway, you see Death Chicane. It was pretty hectic, doing about 210, 230 plus Ks, depending on DRS and things like that. While navigating your tyre wear and your fuel usage and how DRS is working, there was a lot going on in my head at the time. But nonetheless, I was still enjoying it. I was still chasing Hobbit. The car was super solid. The traction was good coming out the corners. It was on rails. Just the handling was amazing. Braking was amazing. I was braking too early, actually. I could have braked later as I was learning. You'll see towards the end of the race, I think it was 37 laps. I was slowly braking later, being braver on the brakes, trusting the car. The car was amazing. There was no fault of the cars. It was just mine. I was just trying to learn and get up to speed with it really quickly. So I've got McEwen pressuring me, coming down this set of corners here, and he's all over me. He's on the outside, then he cuts to the inside. Now I'm trying to take the inside track because I knew I had better track position and better grip, and then basically just forcing him onto the outside of every corner that I could, because it was that quick, just trying to cover off my position. So you see I get a bit of a slow exit as Hobbit makes contact with the wall there, and that compromises me into the chicane here, towards the dash chicane part. And again, he's so solid that he can follow you through these corners until he clips the barrier and hits the wall. So that's unfortunate, but he comes back so strong and he takes the win anyway. So you can basically erase that little incident, because I do the exact same thing on the next lap. So it was very easy to do. The car was super sketchy off the curbs, but very stable if you stayed off the curbs, and that's what I learned towards the end of the race. Was I was getting quicker by staying off the curbs. So again, there was a lot of learning going on in the opening first stint, maybe about 10 laps worth. I was still trying to figure out the car, and towards the end of the race I was actually getting a lot more confident and figuring out how DRS worked. Now I was told DRS works on the straights. Now I thought it was back straight, main straight, that was it, but I kept seeing it flash on and off as Heatster goes off, unfortunately, but he comes back really strong. So again, these little offs didn't count for anything. I'll get back to the DRS, but this little battle here with McEwen, he was that much quicker that I basically outbraked myself. He forced me into an error. He's just so good. He puts the pressure on so smoothly. I brake too late, run too wide, and just leave the door open. Basically, it was a gift off third place. So that's my fault. I'll wear that, but it didn't faze me too much. I was just pissed trying to chase him. And you'll see I just get squirrely. I get all bent out of shape, hit the wall. Gypsy misses me, and I'm so sorry. I didn't stay in the middle of the track on purpose. I just didn't see him coming. There was that much happening. Hit the wall, reset everything, back to focus, and before I knew it, he was already coming down the outside of me, and yeah, he just caught me off guard. So I'm really sorry, Gypsy, but thank you for avoiding me. If there was a contact penalty given, I'd take it, no problem. But he avoided me, and he did well. So, you know, big ups to Gypsy. Thank you very much for the clean racing. And all I could do now was just try to get my head down and get back into the race. Now, DRS was working on the straights, but I saw it flashing, you know, as you saw there, just this little red icon saying DRS. It flashed intermittently, you know, at random times. I don't know why it was flashing. Only towards maybe lap 10, lap 11, maybe lap 12, I figured out that DRS relies on your steering position, not your track position. So on any stretch of the track, if your steering wheel was straight, you could activate DRS, and that's what I only figured out too late. So you'll see it kept flashing in and out. Down this back straight, it worked, but I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't work anywhere else. But it worked off steering position, not track position. So towards the end of the race, you can see I start smashing the DRS, start getting a hang of the car, and being able to put all these little things together to form a good lap, which is how I get a fairly solid result, which I'm quite happy with. But it's 37 laps, so I'll let you enjoy it, and I shall be back when I have something to say. Thanks, guys. So you'll notice it is Gypsy, myself, and Heathster all dive down to the pit together. Now, I didn't need to change tyres at this point. That's just my understanding. I don't think I needed to, but I did, unfortunately, and it cost me some track time. But surprisingly, I make track position. I don't know how I did this. It still bewilders me now, but I jump Gypsy and Heathster somehow, and I'm glad, I'm grateful. Thank you to my amazing pit crew, because they gave me 5th place. So I think I had the Red Bull pit crew working on my car on that stop, because they're good for the 1.98 second sub stop. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that. You see Mickers have a bit of an off there. I'm not sure what happened to him. His race sort of fell apart there in this race, and I don't actually know why. It is unfortunate, but he's an amazing racer. He was super strong through the league. Cold tires, you see I run a bit wide there, a bit of understeer. He was so strong during the league that it's a shame that on the finals, whatever happened, and it basically hurt his race. Magical Wax also had some technical difficulties, I believe. He fell off towards mid to end of the race, so that's unfortunate, because I was having a good battle in the points with him. So I was really looking forward to see how that panned out, if we all had, an even race. But for the most part, for some reason I was changing tires when I didn't need to, and that was costing me position, but I sort of soon learned that, that I don't need to be doing tires as much as I was per stop. And so I started just building a 15-second buffer, basically was my aim. 10 to 15 seconds worth of buffer time between the guy behind me, just to make sure I kept track position, or I was close to track position. when I came out of the pit stop. So I wanted 4th, basically, is what I wanted. You see, I'm still struggling with the braking points. Heatster's all over me. Just learning the car, I was just taking so long, and it was pissing me off because, you know, I didn't want to give up 4th, basically. I have a massive off, hit too much curb and just get airborne, and you see I just royally stuffed that up, stuffed Gypsy up again, so I'm really sorry about that, but he's got the positions, that's okay. Hobbit comes at me quite strongly, but I think at that point I was getting a bit more comfortable with the car, to a point where I could pick my lines and hold him up and try and battle. You see, he gets the inside track on me, pushes me a bit wide. But at the same time, I was getting a bit more confident, to a point where I could attack, could defend. I knew where to place the car. I knew where the grip was. And as such, I was just getting a little bit more quicker each time. So it's Nismo and I, 7th and 8th, for the better part of a couple laps, until he pits, I believe. So he's a strong racer. You know, he's amazing. I love racing with him. Very glad he's my teammate, because he's been so solid through this league that we've managed to pull a good amount of points. So aside from my own mistake and Hobbit getting the jump on me, I was sort of getting to grips with the car. I was getting a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable in the car. So enjoy the next few laps. I think that'll be most of what I need to say for a while, until something else happens. But till then, enjoy. So you'll notice 4th, 5th, and 6th jump into the pit lane. I'm not sure if they were underfueling the cars per stop, but I just didn't understand why they stopped for fuel again, whereas I had a lap left, basically. So in my head at this point, when I saw this at lap 11, you know, I'm thinking, why are these guys stopping again? I've got another lap to go, basically. So at this time, I was sort of thinking maybe I could offset them with a fuel strategy rather than outright pace. If I was slower, I wasn't, but if I was slower, I thought I could get them on fuel instead. So they might be quicker, but they're going to have to stop more. So my idea at this point was just not to fuel save, but don't maximize the revs, don't sit on the limiter, short shift the car, use as less fuel as you can while maintaining a good delta, and just play it out and see how we go. By about lap 27ish, I knew I'd know where I stand in terms of fuel saving and the delta between 4th and the rest. So at this point, it was more so just keep an eye on the fuel, don't have to change the tires, manage the wear, and just drive a super solid and clean race without overstressing the car, without sitting on the rev limiter and just wasting fuel, basically. So it was a good solid mid stint. I think I managed the middle sector pretty well in the race, from about lap 12 or 13 to about 25, 26. I think I managed the middle sector quite well in terms of pace, in terms of looking after the tires, in terms of looking after the car, the fuel, and all these things sort of come into play the longer the race you do. So the longer the stints, the longer the effort you need to put in, the more you can start fuel saving, the more you can start looking at tires, you can start looking after things, you can start managing the pace rather than just always flat out boom, 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 having to push every single time. You'll see I dropped down to 8th, but at this point I wasn't too worried because I knew these guys ahead of me will have to stop again. And if the plan worked, I'd be able to jump them again, and towards the end of the race have the upper hand where they'd need to stop, and fingers crossed, hopefully, I wouldn't. So that was the idea. It was all hypothetical at this moment, but that was what I was hoping for, basically, was just playing the long game rather than just being the quickest guy on track. So from about lap 14, 15 onwards, I was quite happy being in the car. I had picked my braking points super solid after lap 13's incident, which saw me wind up in the gravel trap. I learned my lesson, picked my braking points pretty early, slow in, fast out. The car liked to be handled smooth, don't jump it over the curbs. And also with the steering wheel being straight to activate DRS, it just helped nail these super consistent lap times while saving fuel. I didn't have to rev the car out, didn't have to max the RPM. I was able to short shift and just keep things happy to a point where I could fuel save without having to obviously fuel save, but use the DRS to help me pick up that lap time that I was losing. You see, Heathster had a bit of an off. I think his tyres were maybe too new, so cold tyres. So that was unfortunate, but I picked the place up, was quite happy with that. When I saw the guys ahead of me pit, it sort of highlighted to me that maybe what I was doing was correct. It might be working, what I was doing. So I was quite glad to see maybe the idea stacking up, maybe what I was thinking coming into play. And when I saw them pit, with me having about 2 to 3 laps with the fuel remaining, it sort of solidified what I was thinking. So I kept the delta positive, looked after the tyres, didn't overwork the tyres in the corners, braking smoothly, didn't have to lock anything up, and just basically using the downforce, but using the DRS to counteract any time lost with a short shift and the slower entries, and it just helped me maximize the exit speed and the overall straight line speed of the car. So overall, I think towards the end of this race, I was super happy with my performance. Really solid, consistent, nailing the laps, getting the lap times down, and just managing the strategy. So a P4 was all I could ask for. I was very happy with P4. I couldn't ask for any more than that. Didn't expect any more than that. So I'll leave you with the rest of this, but I can say it was an enjoyable race. It was hard. It was a bit long to keep the concentration going, but I enjoyed it. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. So big shout out to Clan Fever and the guys in the league. Amazing group of guys to race with. I couldn't pick anyone better to race with. So I'm very grateful I was invited to this league, and very grateful for all the battles that we've had. I've made a few mistakes, so I'm very sorry for that. Learning, and I've learnt my lessons. And I'm just looking forward to the next league, to put everything I've learned into practice and hopefully come away with a lot more wins. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you make it to the end, I appreciate it. It's not very eventful, but it's something nonetheless. It's something new. If you do enjoy the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, share if you can. That would be much appreciated. I'm just trying to grow it, basically, to get more viewers, work on my streaming, work on my delivery. There's a few things I'm going to change up with how the replays are structured. I'm just learning that at the moment, so that's a bit of a secret until I reveal it. But just stay tuned, subscribe, get the notifications, and hopefully you enjoy more content coming up. Thanks guys, bye.